Hello, this is John Rawling with Golden Goals, here taking a look at some of the great moments of the recent years in Leeds United's illustrious history. You'll see once again some of the finest goals scored by the men in United shirts, how they helped take Leeds United to FA Cup glory and league success. This is just one of an official FA series featuring all 22 of the Carling Premiership clubs, and we'll be bringing you the golden goals scored by each club in the Football League and the FA Cup over the last decade. Leeds United, champions of 1992. 18 years after their last league title, Howard Wilkinson had led the Yorkshiremen back to a place at the top of English football. Peter Lorimer, the man with the hardest shot in football, one of the golden boys of the Don Revie era. Frank Gray, versatile left-sided player, a Scottish international who was at home in defence or midfield. Tommy Wright, the little Scot with the goal-scoring knack. Ian Baird, another Scottish striker who was the club's leading scorer for 2 seasons. Howard Wilkinson, the man who finally led the club from Revie's shadow. In 4 years, he took Leeds from Division 2 to the league title. Gordon Strachan, he enjoyed an Indian summer to a distinguished career, the key man in midfield and perhaps Wilkinson's best signing. Another Scottish midfielder, Gary McAllister, signed from Leicester for £1 million. Gary Speed, Welsh international midfield man. His tireless running carried him through to first-team success. Lee Chapman, a much-travelled striker, joined from Nottingham Forest, and his goals helped Leeds back to the top flight. Carl Shutt, a bargain signing, he was a big contributor to promotion and a regular scorer in Division 1. Rod Wallace came from Southampton in 1991 for a club record fee. Eric Cantona, the mercurial French striker. They said he was a bad boy, he was certainly good for Leeds. Brian Clough, Jimmy Armfield, Jock Stein and Jimmy Adamson had followed Don Revie, but in 1981, Alan Clark was the man in charge.
The other great. Going back to Eddie. Oh, good ball for Arthur Graham inside the box, getting the cross in. Oh, and here comes Stevenson. Surely yes. Oh, he took that well. Well, it's been threatening, and it is a perfect goal, this. Good skill, first of all by Eddie Gray, a clip along the line from Hampson, and just look at Gray's control as he nicks the ball inside to Arthur Graham, who is causing all sorts of problems, gets inside the box. I thought he might have been brought down. He tucks it away to Byron Stevenson, and from the most acute of angles, the Welshman scores. The two-man wall being told to retreat further as Butterworth makes a run in the hope of meeting this cross from Gray. It's useful. Paul Hart's up there and Butterworth scores. 2-0. The Swansea defenders hold their heads because they left Paul Hart totally unmarked on the far post, and it might be a moot point as to whether Hart or Butterworth claimed the goal. The important thing is the ball's in the net. Frankie Gray hoisting the perfect free kick, and just look at the room that Paul Hart finds himself in at the far post. There he is, and Aidan Butterworth a touch from no more than a yard. So the chance of an early strike for Leeds. Barnes' corner, Hart's in, the header's there, across the goal, a chance for Worthington. What a start! Oh, what a start! There's the corner from Peter Barnes. I said there was a chance of an early strike. Paul Hart gets it well. It's Gary Hampson who cuts the ball back. It falls straight for Frank Worthington. Whack!
The unthinkable happened though, and Leeds were relegated. Alan Clark was sacked and the board turned to his old teammate Eddie Gray as the new manager.
Corner for Leeds. Paul Hart right in there, the two big number 5s tangling there, and it was Roger Brown who got it away. Thomas has scored for Leeds. Well, his first goal of the season, It didn't give Jerry Payton a lot of chance. He was unsighted and the ball is in the back of the net. Headed by Thomas. He stood off him just for a moment there, and just though Leeds might have found a way through. Dickinson now finding Butterworth. Kenny Burns. Graham. Bird. Oh, back again for Graham, left foot, fine goal! So Arthur Graham gets his first of the season, and a finely worked goal it was. The little ball from Kevin Hurd into the path of the trusty left boots of Arthur Graham. Kenny Burns will take the free kick. It's with Hart. Now Worthington, touch for Flynn, turn for Graham. Really hustling Hinchelwood. His cross is a good one, Connor on the turn! 1-1. Good work here by Arthur Graham, whipped in a low cross on that occasion, caught them all out, and a good turn there though by Terry Connor.
Leeds finished only 8th. Aidan Butterworth was the leading scorer with 13, and Celtic striker George McCluskey joined for the new season.
This could give Sheffield Wednesday 3 points, but Leeds will come back at them in the last few minutes. Sellers. And Rich is there! They came back straight away! Brilliant goal! Sellers with the cross, Ritchie the header. And Sheffield Wednesday caught sleeping but appealing for handball surely. Was it his hand? That's the big question, because when the cross came in I thought it was the hand of Ritchie, and the goalkeeper thinks so too, and the referee must surely speak to the linesman. It looked to me as though it might have been his hand and not his head from here. Mike Lyons has said come away, they're going to consult, but there's a moment of controversy here. What's going to happen? A goal's been given.
Peter Lorimer scored his 155th league goal against Swansea on the 7th of May, so breaking the club record set by the great John Charles. 13th place in Division 2 meant 83-84 was another disappointing season. Andy Linnigan was a newcomer from Hartlepool, and Eddie Gray retired as a player.
Now for Lorimer. Leeds still building methodically. Irwin, there's some height in the area, and it was from Watson, from Wright, Tommy Wright, it just squeezed it, the header from Wright, and Leeds have taken the lead. 5 minutes to half time. Goal number 4 for Tommy Wright. The long cross came over, just got what appeared to be the faintest of touches, and it went in off the post. Sheridan, Watson, thought about the shot, instead finds Irwin. McCluskey's in the middle, so is Wright. Watson arriving, it was over Humphrey. Here's Wright, Flowers on his line, Lorimer! Peter Lorimer makes it 2-2. The cross from Irwin was too long for Humphrey. When Wright steered it back over, Peter Lorimer, the grand old man of Leeds, was there to knock it in. Here's Tommy Wright, showing good composure, pulling it away from the goalkeeper, and Lorimer right into the corner. Flowers kept it in. He hasn't, and his inexperience showing there, perhaps. Pender couldn't prevent it crossing the line, and young Tim Flowers holds his head. He chased the ball, but really he couldn't keep it. The long clearance from David Harvey. Palmer turned it back, and Flowers lost it. how quickly Wright responded, and his cross, well, going in anyway, and Pender into the net.
Forward there by Gray. The referee looked to the linesman. There was no flag. This is Sellers. Oh, and Ritchie got the rebound. And here's a chance for Wright. It's a goal for Leeds. Oxford were victims there of their own mistake. The ball was carelessly given away. Andy Ritchie picked it up, pushed it through to Tommy Wright, and he puts Leeds into the lead. Gray. Wright to the left, Ritchie on the other side. That's for Wright. It's a good ball too. And here's Lorimer. 2-0 to Leeds. And the teenager made it for the veteran. Gray got Tommy Wright going down the left, and the 18-year-old who scored the first goal crossed that beautifully. Hardwick couldn't cut it out properly, and in came Lorimer.
Ian Baird signed from Newcastle for £75,000, and the Scottish striker was soon making an impact.
Right. Langan.
Rock beaten by Gray. Now off goes Baird. Can they stretch Oxford here? Baird going on all the way, and a goal! Great run by Baird, and what a finish. Explosive run then by Baird. Set on his way by Frankie Gray, and Baird shot just beyond the outstretched arms of Steve Hardwick.
Leeds finished 84-85, 7th in Division 2. Early next season, Eddie Gray was sacked, Billy Bremner became the new manager, and in his first season, Leeds could only finish 14th. The next season, against Queen's Park Rangers in the Cup, Leeds won 2-1, that first goal from Ian Baird. Cross comes over from the left, headed back by John Pearson, and Baird getting in powerfully. The second, again the knock-on by Pearson, and there's Brendan Ormsby. In the quarter-finals, Leeds were away to Wigan. There's the second goal scored by Mickey Adams as Leeds won by 2-0. Leeds lost 3-2 in the semi-finals to the eventual cup winners Coventry. By 1990, they were back in the First Division, though, promoted as champions, and their manager, Howard Wilkinson, set about building a team not only to survive, but to take on the best. Gordon Strachan. In just over a year at the club, he'd become a crucial figure to the team. John Lukic now rejoined Leeds in goal from Arsenal. Wilkinson paid £1 million for him. The big target man Lee Chapman moved north from Nottingham Forest for £400,000. And Gary McAllister also headed up the M1 from Leicester for £1 million. They cost a fortune. Gary Speed cost nothing, a trainee who made a first-team spot his own, and they all played together in the first game of the season.
Chapman the target. Might bounce through. White's there. Fairclough's there. Leeds in front. Chris Fairclough. They're back in business. Leeds United's return to the First Division is 6 minutes old, and Chris Fairclough has given them the lead. Lee Chapman caused the problems at the near post. Everton committed a lot of men to guard with him, and the two central defenders were left free. Chapman, number 9, caused so many problems just by his sheer physical presence. Southall tried to close down White, but Fairclough was in. Riley trying to make something of it. Southall came eventually. Vardy barged into him. Play on, says the referee. It's a goal. Gary Speed has forced the ball in, and Leeds are 2 up. Speed gets the congratulations. Everton, I fancy, will be unhappy about the challenge on Vardy, and maybe about the manner in which the ball eventually found its way into the goal. Vardy has paid a price for his bravery, but he's got his reward. Now there's Vardy closing in on Southall as Keown scampers back, and Keown was holding Vardy, if anything. And was it McDonald or was it Speed who got the crucial touch? Strachan, McAllister, McDonald was in the way then. Batty. Chapman might fall for Gary Speed. Southall brave enough now. Vardy offside. No, goal given. 3-0 to Leeds. Vardy stood almost on the goal line there. Converted the easiest of chances. Referee had a look at his linesman. Goal stands. Oh, what a sweet moment for the former Evertonian, Imre Vardy. Neville Southall committed himself as Gary Speed closed in. Ball behind him, and look where Vardy is. Well,
Glyn Snowden starts this one off against Norwich. To Speed. Snowden again working well with Speed. Imre Vardy at the near post, and there's Lee Chapman getting Leeds first. Snowden and Batty together on the left. Snowden's cross, headed out only as far as McAllister, and there's Lee Chapman for his second. Leeds won the match 3-0, and a dreadful defensive error from Norwich City led to that third. That's White. Finding Batty. Back to Sterland, and that ball going nowhere. Until now. Imre Vardy. Gary Speed. David Batty. Fine ball crossfield to Mel Sterland. McAllister on the overlap. John Pearson the header. The second comes from a Sheffield United corner. There's Carl Bradshaw, robbed by Gary McAllister. And now to Gordon Strachan, and a tremendous piece of individual skill from the little Scot. John Pemberton back on defence. Round he goes, and in the ball goes into the back of the net. Superb goal from Gordon Strachan, and didn't he know it? It was a wonderful example of close control from the little Scot. McAllister had made that powerful break. Strachan in acres of space. The defensive cover was on its way back. Strachan almost looked as though he'd gone too far. But what about that for composure?
Strachan's corner, 1-1. Gary Speed it is. What a flying header. And the marking that time wasn't there. Well, McGoldrick had defended against him a few moments ago, but speed free in the corner and really burying it.
Glenn Snowden takes this free kick against Queen's Park Rangers. Finds John Pearson, and Chris White gets the final touch. Leeds United lost this match by 3-2, but let's see the Leeds second. Rangers under no sort of pressure at all as the ball comes out to Kenny Sansom. But there's Gordon Strachan. And who's waiting? Lee Chapman. Next against Nottingham Forest. Lukic to Sterland. Carl Schutt. Gordon Strachan, Schutt again, and there's Chapman scoring against his old club. A good victory this one for Leeds, and now more goal action from the same game. Strachan finds Chapman, Schutt, and then McAllister. Brilliant strike by the Scottish international midfielder. Forest win the game by 3-1. Long through ball. Chapman so strong in the air. Schutt just gets the little touch on, and a superb strike by McAllister.
Again has drifted away from his marker, and that's a dangerous looking cross, and it's gone in from Chapman. Manchester City were caught asleep. Lee Chapman nodded in his 6th goal of the season past Tony Coton, but it was McAllister's break from the free kick that set it up. He caught them all by surprise and delivered the perfect cross onto the head of one of the great predators in the game. 10 is McAllister, 11 speed. Strachan is the number 7, and Mel Sterland, the other Leeds United player. All of them around the ball. Sterland probably favourite to have the crack at goal. And he does, and it deflects, and shot it onto it. Good save, shot again. It's gone in, has it? It has now. Leeds United get a second in the dying moments of the half. And Carl Schutt's reaction then was superb. He really punished Tony Coton, but you've got to feel sorry for the Manchester City goalkeeper, who initially made a really good stop here. Good save. A Schutt patched it back in. It went over the line then. Kamara with the interception. Batty takes over for Leeds. Now Strachan to Chapman. That's a good return ball, and Strachan's onside. Carl Schutt arriving on the far side of the penalty area. He didn't need him. What a marvellous finish. Absolutely exquisite goal. Gordon Strachan's 5th goal of the season, and the 33-year-old showed the coolest head on the park. A brilliant finish in the 63rd minute. He looked to see Schutt on the far side of the penalty area, but with that kind of ability, he didn't need any help.
Against Derby County, Mel Sterland with a long punt forward looking for Schutt. Comes back to Batty. A Schutt's header, and Chapman gets the goal. And there were more to come in the same game. Strachan starting this one off. Comes to White. That's Mel Sterland. Lovely back heel by Chapman and Strachan. Superb skills on the ground by the big man. McAllister. Chapman on to Shutt. Looks up to see who's there. And it's Gary Speed. Lukic to Sterland. The long ball forward finds Carl Shutt. Strachan, Shutt once again. And there's Lee Chapman. And in at the second attempt. White with the free kick. Sterland, McAllister, Chris Fairclough. Was it over? The referee says yes. Leeds went fifth, beating Southampton by 2-1. That was the first goal. Now we get a chance to see the second, and this started with a long throw from Mel Sterland. White's the man at the near post, and Carl Shutt scores from close range. Always a crunch match against Manchester United. 30 yards out, Mel Sterland. Wonderful strike by the fullback. And it finished as a 1-1 draw.
Strachan will take it. White up at the near post. Chapman in there too. Fairclough up. And Sterland up.
Back it's Sterland's header. And it's in there by Shutt, number 2. Corner, touched on by Sterland. Carl Shutt was lurking, and that's number 2 for Leeds.
Against Chelsea on Boxing Day, there's Mel Sterland. Corner from Strachan, and nobody picked up the fullback, and here again it's a Strachan free kick. This time a fine header by Lee Chapman. Leeds weren't done. On for the third. Carl Shutt. His shot saved. And Andy Townsend gifts it to Lee Chapman for a second for Chapman, and Leeds third. The fourth goal for Leeds begins with Lee Chapman. His cross finds McAllister. And a tremendous strike by the substitute Mike Whitlow means that Leeds beat Chelsea 4-1. Against Wimbledon, Leeds going for a 4th straight victory. Lukic with the long clearance to Strachan, on to Shutt. And there's Lee Chapman. Lovely turn, and the big man scores. Good knock on by Shutt. Found Chapman. And for a big man, wasn't that good close control from Lee Chapman? Leeds second starts with the long clearance from Lukic. And it's an individual goal for Gary Speed. That made it Leeds 2, Wimbledon 0. But Leeds weren't finished yet. Strachan with the corner. White the header, and Mel Sterland unmarked. See it again. Chris White gets up so well at the near post, and nobody picked up the fullback.
Here's Snowden with the corner kick. In for Sterland. Yes! Sterland has scored for Leeds. A little jig of delight. The Leeds United supporters celebrate. It was a fine leap, but Barnsley were very concerned about the loss of this goal from the orthodox corner kick. It tripped in under the crossbar. Lance Deacon on the post buries his face in the net.
Behind by Taggart. Leeds very anxious to take the corner quickly. Strachan. Shot, it ricocheted to him, and it's a second, and Lee Chapman waiting at the far post, and he was looking around, I think, for Carl Tyler. There's been a bit of argy-bargy in the local press here with Carl Tyler, the Barnsley defender, saying that he can cope with the likes of Chapman. Well, he hasn't coped now. Shot did well. That's a formality. Batty. Oh, and Snowden's hooked it back. Pearson, McAllister! Gary McAllister! And that is game, set and match to Leeds United.
Well, this is a case for not giving things up, isn't it? Lynn Snowden does excellently, does marvellously well to spot McAllister coming in. And that's a tremendous finish. He don't miss them from there with his left foot.
To drive in the cross. Leeds have got their positioning for Batty's throw. Oh, and Chapman. And Fairclough. 2-0. So the throw did the damage. In the 15th minute of the second half. Chamberlain felt that he could get it in the first place, but he didn't. Chapman improvised, and Fairclough was facing the goal, and really he could hardly miss. And Chapman creates one here for Chris Fairclough. Sterland has time to measure the cross. Chapman. And this one does count.
Well, since Chris White's goal has been disallowed, Leeds have laid siege here for the last couple of minutes. That's a wonderful header. Andy Linnigan tries to make it difficult by making a back for Lee Chapman, but he shows great determination to get that header in there.
Strachan. Leeds leaning heavily on his capacity for inspiration. It's Lee Chapman, surely he's done as he has. Now, Leeds sense a chance that a recovery might be on. Strachan did provide a source of stimulation with the cross.
Well, just at the time when I felt they were going under, Martin, Gordon Strachan produces a great little ball in, but let's give the credit to Lee Chapman. Not only is it a difficult one to control, as you watch it, it's a nasty bobbly one. He gets it under control, shrugs off Andy Linnigan, and proves that you don't have to smash it to beat the goalkeeper.
Mel Sterland the throw-in to Batty, back to Sterland. Goes round his man well, good strength from the fullback. Finds McAllister, and in the end Bobby Davison from close range. Against Coventry City, still a second for Leeds. Strachan with the free kick. McAllister makes a run at the near post, but it's White at the far post, and at the second attempt into the net. Leeds 2, Coventry 0.
And he's not offside, and Gary Speed has a great chance here to equal things for Leeds United. It's against Martin, and Gary Speed puts Leeds level. 6 minutes from half-time, and the Crystal Palace offside trap is undone. Something at less to celebrate for the Leeds fans.
Here against Chelsea, it's Gordon Strachan with the free kick. Picks out Chris White at the far post, and the final touch from Carl Schutt. Leeds United against Chelsea in beautiful conditions at Stamford Bridge. That goal coming at the start from Gordon Strachan. Strachan so good from the dead ball situation, just picking out Chris White at the far post. Carl Schutt with the final touch. Strachan again with a corner. Cleared only as far as Batty. Batty, his ball comes in. It's Carl Schutt who gets his head to it. And Chris Fairclough finishes with aplomb. Leeds beating Chelsea by 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. An excellent away victory. And now against Sunderland. Mike Whitlow finds Speed. Whitlow again. His cross. Lee Chapman. Chapman so commanding in the air. Here's the Leeds second. Strachan to Speed. Speed finds Chapman again, and Carl Schutt. Leeds 2, Sunderland 0. A free kick taken by Mel Sterland. Gary Speed, another marvellous header. There's no stopping Leeds now, 3 goals up. Strachan and McAllister, Strachan again. And there's Speed, and where's the Sunderland defence? It's Leeds United 4, Sunderland 0. David Rush gives it away. Chapman's got Batty asking for it on his right. Schutt on the left. He goes alone. Leeds win by 5-0, and that was their best victory of the whole season. Against Wimbledon, the corner cleared only as far as McAllister. Picks out Strachan. Strachan, a pinpoint cross, and Lee Chapman once again. Against Manchester City, Mel Sterland on the right. Finds Chapman. Here's Speed, and McAllister scores.
Liverpool do have an incentive here to keep looking for goals rather than just settle for keeping a clean sheet. Strachan. Schutt. For Strachan, McAllister's waiting behind him. Chapman! Well, it's a steep climb, but at least they've got their foot on the first rung of the ladder. And finally, it broke Leeds' way in the Liverpool penalty area, off the goalkeeper. Really getting back into the game. But that does count for Schutt, and they simply want to get the game restarted. The hopes are growing. 12 minutes to go, and it might well have been a push by Hussein on Chapman in the first place. Still Leeds drive on. Batty. Chapman! That's a great goal. The 8th of the game. The balance of power still with Liverpool. But Chapman gets his second. And David Batty picked him out brilliantly. Liverpool completely out of their stride. Still could happen with attitudes like that from Batty. Whitlow, well played. McAllister. Speed. Chapman waiting at the far post. Jumping with Hooper again. Sterling. Here's Strachan, he can tee it up. But he doesn't want to do that, he wants to get closer and cross, and Chapman's got a hat-trick. Leeds United punching the air into light. There's only one goal in it now, and there's only 1 minute left. Strachan knew what he wanted to do and he took his time, and Chapman in the right place again. It's Leeds United 4, Liverpool 5.
One of the performances of the season came against Aston Villa. Sterling's free kick. Fairclough and Lee Chapman. Fairclough starts this one to Chapman. Lovely ball, picks out speed on the left. Chapman again. David Batty flicks it in for White, and at the second attempt, the big man scores. Batty with the throw. Cleared only as far as Snowden. Carl Schutz with the rebound. Snowden with the free kick on the left. High cross, picks out White, and there's Lee Chapman. Leeds beat Aston Villa by 5 goals to 2. Against Sheffield United, Mel Sterling with a low driven free kick provides the Leeds first. The second, it's an awful back pass by Bob Booker, which lets in Carl Schutt. I think that's what you call a gift, and Leeds beat Sheffield United 2-1. Against Nottingham Forest, Lee Chapman, another goal against his former club. In the same match, a long through ball picks out Carl Schutt. Only the keeper to beat, Crossley commits himself, and Schutt has the easiest of tasks. Leeds finished 4th in the league that year, and Gordon Strachan was voted the Footballer of the Year by the Football Writers Association. Leeds had enjoyed an excellent season, but all fans will remember the next year, 91-92, the year the championship was won. Before the season began, though, Howard Wilkinson stepped into the transfer market. England fullback Tony Dorigo moved from Chelsea for £1.3 million. Rod and Ray Wallace came from Southampton for a combined fee of £1.7 million. And from Nottingham Forest, there was Steve Hodge, £900,000. Howard Wilkinson was close to completing his jigsaw.
Main match a week ago, Queen's Park Rangers were caught at the last by Arsenal. Are Leeds going to do the same here to Sheffield Wednesday? Yes, Steve Hodge! With 3 minutes to go. What a start in Leeds colours. Sheffield Wednesday couldn't hold out. It was all a bit of a scramble, and it took another touch on the way in.
Let's see a game against Manchester City. Strachan with the corner. Sterling. Dorigo, tremendous strike by the fullback. The ball came out to Dorigo, and you see again that was a wonderful left foot shot. Another goal for Leeds in the same match. Lee Chapman in pursuit. Strachan. David Batty.
Trouble's fist. Dorigo. Steve Hodge from Leeds United. So the goal that almost materialised a moment ago for Strachan has arrived, as Liverpool couldn't clear the subsequent corner. Grobbelaar a bit unlucky. He fisted it powerfully, but the ball was pressured back in again.
Another Yorkshire derby against Sheffield United. Mel Sterland's long throw. Comes as far as Hodge. Free kick finds Lee Chapman. Speed. Hodge. 2 for Steve Hodge. Leeds were to win this match by 4 goals to 3. Ball comes across and Lee Chapman gets up so well. Little knock on by Gary Speed. And Hodge makes no mistake. Against Notts County. Strachan's corner. Shuts heads on and Lee Chapman. Chapman starting this one. To Batty. Sterland in support. Steve Hodge again. Gordon Strachan with the corner. It may have come off Chris White's back, it may have come off a defender, but it was certainly White who was claiming it. That's the Leeds third. More to come, here's the fourth. McAllister finds Strachan. Back to McAllister, and can he hit them? Leeds United 4, Notts County 2. McAllister from all of 30 yards. Strachan's corner against Queen's Park Rangers. And a first league goal for Leeds United for Rod Wallace, the new signing from Southampton.
And Sterling can hurl the ball quite a distance. Goes short, of course, inevitably the moment I say that. Gets it back from Strachan. Good looking cross. Chapman's header! Marvellous save, but it's Wallace who follows up. And it's a goal for Leeds United. Seeley at last is beaten. And Leeds United go in front.
Yes, you could see it coming. Good ball in. Lee Chapman gets a great header. Not quite sure whether it's over the line or not. Probably not.
White has come forward to the near post as ever with Chapman. There he is. And White just got the touch in, and it's a goal! What a great start to the second half. Sterling on the end of the flick on, and Leeds United have scored within a minute and a half of the restart. So Chapman goes to the near post as ever. They'll be well advised to keep a careful eye here, not only on White and Chapman, but also, of course, on Sterling, who scored from the previous corner. Goes in short this time. And a lovely little back healer. Strachan into the danger zone. It's turned in. Chapman, I think, on the line. It's 3-0 to Leeds United. Strachan, the architect, and Leeds United have made a dream start to this second half.
Well, surely there's no way back for Villa now. Great little play between McAllister and Strachan there. Great corner move. Gordon nips in there, hits it hard and low, and you see Lee Chapman in the perfect place to finish it off.
Sterling, one of the goal scorers for Leeds United, finds Strachan. Still time for a final flourish, perhaps, from Leeds United. Sterling, Chapman in a good position on the far post. There he is, and there is the final flourish. Gets his second goal of the game. Leeds United their fourth, and for the third match in succession against Aston Villa, Lee Chapman has scored 2 goals.
As always, little Gordon Strachan with the corner. Lee Chapman challenging, and an acrobatic finish by Rod Wallace. Free kick finds Chapman. Steve Hodge. Hodge getting Leeds' first goal against Southampton. Here's the second. White. To Chapman. Sterland. Beautifully weighted cross. And Hodge once again. Wallace. Mel Sterland on the overlap. Good persistence by Sterland, eventually finding Gary Speed. Finished Leeds 3, Southampton 3. McAllister and Strachan on the ball. McAllister's cross, and a great header by Lee Chapman. Lukic, a long clearance, looking for Chapman. Comes to McAllister. And no doubt about that one. Leeds United second this against West Ham. Another superb strike by McAllister. Great persistence by Mel Sterland. Sets Rod Wallace away. And Lee Chapman gets Leeds United's third. Leeds United beating West Ham 3-1.
Fairclough getting up well and turned in by Chapman. Lee Chapman on the ground where he graced so many games for Sheffield Wednesday.
Well, Sterland and De Riga can both hit them, Alan, so they've got an option here.
Hodge in the wall, it's De Riga who hammers it. Oh my word, what a goal that was! 13 minutes to half-time. Tony De Riga, who wasn't even playing until this morning, produces one of the great strikes of the season to give Leeds United a 2-goal advantage. De Riga. That's good running and a fine ball. Speed. First time towards Chapman. Oh, a magnificent goal by Lee Chapman. 2 minutes to half-time. Chapman gets his second. Leeds United get their third. And what a way to reply to that controversial penalty which went against them. Lovely ball here, but look at the accuracy and power of that header. Corner to Leeds United, and that always spells danger to the defending side. Fairclough forward, hasn't scored this season. And flicked dangerously on into Speed, who headed against the crossbar. Wallace gets it back in, and Chapman was on the line to make absolutely sure. And since that's all about a hat-trick, I'm sure he'll claim it. Still looking for goals here, and they've got another. A splendid header. And
Substitute.
yeah, I'm just going to say the day has gone so well for them that the substitute comes on and gets what for him is a very rare goal indeed. De Riga. Speed. A bit clumsy with that. Nielsen intercepted, but gives it straight back to Gary Speed. Dorigo again. This is Chapman, scorer of a hat-trick. On to McAllister. On again to Whitlow, who's got another goal and finds Wallace with that lovely ball. And it's 6 for Leeds United.
Corner taken by Gordon Strachan, Speed's header, and Chris Fairclough scores. Now against Notts County. As always, the corner from Strachan. Sterling, nobody picking him up, and the fullback gets Leeds first. David Batty. This, I think you'll agree, turned out to be one of the goals of the season. Strachan's free kick. Hodge. Wallace. It had been neck and neck with Manchester United all season, but Eric Cantona was signed, and then Leeds went from strength to strength. Against Luton. McAllister, and there's Cantona, scoring on his home debut as substitute. Cantona celebrates, and the Leeds second was really down to a comedy of errors from the Luton defence. Alec Chamberlain, the goalkeeper. Trevor Peake here, the captain. What's he doing? Lee Chapman, he knows what he's doing. Leeds 2, Luton 0.
The difference between a draw and a victory would be considerable for them. This is a longer ball. And here's the header and a goal from the substitute Newsom. What a dream for John Newsom. That's an extraordinary turn of events. Sterling is off, so Strachan has slipped back to the right back position for the moment. Cantona, his first touch. McAllister might make it 3. McAllister's made it 3. 2 in 2 minutes. And it's turning it into a terrific trip to the capital.
Leeds had the championship firmly in their sights by the time they took on Wimbledon. Rod Wallace finds David Batty. And Lee Chapman scores the Leeds first. Wallace again on the left. Looks for support, and it's Chapman for his second. Rod Wallace got a third for Leeds, now a fourth. Long clearance by White, picks out Eric Cantona. The Frenchman's away, and what a beautiful, cool finish it was. Absolutely no stopping Leeds. Sterling picks out the substitute Carl Schutt. Lee Chapman 5-1 to Leeds United, and a hat-trick for the big striker. Against Chelsea, Strachan. And there's Rod Wallace. Leeds 1, Chelsea 0. Turned out to be another emphatic win though. McAllister finds Cantona, and Lee Chapman bundles it in for the second. Throw to Cantona. Great close control by the Frenchman. Superb finish. Leeds United 3, Chelsea 0. Cantona celebrates, and well he might. Looked as though he might be losing control of it, but kept his eye on it all the way, and a superb finish.
A free kick, foul by Beasley on Chapman. Strachan takes it quickly towards Wallace. Was he brought down by the goalkeeper? It might not matter anyway. Speed, Wallace! It could be the most unusual goal of the season. It could be one of the most important. A bizarre goal. Leeds have got a lot of potential here. And he has delivered it well, and the keeper's missed it, and they're in front. And it's John Newsom who arrived on the far post to score the most important goal of the season so far for Leeds United.
Now speed. Wallace again was a bit lucky then. I think he might have been trying to play it back to speed. But on he goes. He's made his own luck. Rodney Wallace. What an outstanding goal on an outstanding day for Leeds United. A goal really in keeping with the carnival.
Leeds had won their final game 1-0, and Gordon Strachan enjoyed that moment of glory as Leeds became the last champions of the Old Football League. And Howard Wilkinson was named as the Barclays Manager of the Year. Leeds United had finished 4 points ahead of their arch-rivals Manchester United, and now the men of '92 would forever rank alongside Don Revie's great sides of the 60s and 70s. Leeds United, champions once again, thanks of course to those golden goals.